The Steelers got good in the 90s, and then they sucked again, and then they got good again.
No, watch, because I looked it up, because somebody was talking about this, and I didn't believe them. All the Steelers, every single time, when they get a new quarterback, there's a curve. There's I don't really know if I like this guy, he's not performing that great, he's not as good as the last guy, blah, 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 blah. He hits, and he starts hitting good, and you're like, yeah, I love this guy.
And then he throws 7 picks in a Super Bowl, and he's Tommy Maddox.
And then there's a down curve, and he's like, I hate you, I wish you would die, get off our team, we need a new guy, where's the new guy, I want the new guy. Then the new guy comes in. It's kind of like the doctor. Steelers quarterbacks are like the doctor.
We just mixed way too many fucking references.
Yeah.
And I'm slowly realizing that my rant about Steelers quarterbacks is probably going to be the stinger for the show.
Buenos nachos, amigos, and welcome back to another fine episode of Record Breakers. I am Petey Rave. Here with me as are my peeps, my friends, that talk about music with me. We have Brett.
Hey.
We got Drew.
Hi.
And we got Patrick.
Hey.
We are here gathered again to talk about music. And the provider of this week's music is none other than Brett. Brett, what do you got for us this week?
Well, we got some punk rock by the band Dead Kennedys. We got Plastic Surgery Disasters, and we're tagging on at the end the EP In God We Trust Incorporated. They're normally bundled together unless you're going to go out and get the vinyl of Plastic Surgery Disasters. So that's the album we're picking. It's a gem of the early 80s punk rock scene from San Francisco. So let's dig in.
Mm-hmm. Drew, I'm interested. What were your expectations coming into this record?
I told Brett this the other night that I'm going to my sentiments from a lot of the albums he picked early on for this podcast. I'm going to say it again. I was very familiar with the Dead Kennedys, not familiar with one, singular thought by the Dead Kennedys. I never listened to a full record from front to back, but I listened to a lot of their music, so I knew what I was getting into. I knew the vocal arrangement I was getting into. I knew the punk rock I was getting into. I knew I was going to be thrashing and bashing and having a grand old angry time. And that's what I knew about the Dead Kennedys going into this.
Mm-hmm. And I must ask, Patrick, what were your expectations coming into this record?
More or less the same thing as Drew said. I know who Jello is. I know his sort of impact on punk music, and I've heard a few Dead Kennedy songs in my day. I played Tony Hawk Pro Skater. I definitely... if I see a skateboard, I get Police Truck stuck in my head. It's years and years of that game. But I had never really sat down, at least not in a very long time, to listen to a Dead Kennedys record. I've got one of my best friends who's one of the people who got me into some of the good punk I listened to, is a huge Dead Kennedys fan. So I've definitely listened to them, but not in a very long time, and not a band I'm super familiar with.
Yeah, I know I've definitely sang Police Truck and California Uber Alice quite a few times at karaoke. And they don't even exist in karaoke. I had to make my own versions of their songs at karaoke. But I've definitely never listened to a full Dead Kennedys record, as evidenced by my iTunes library. But Brett, what would be the themes and elements that make up this record and define it?
Well, the Dead Kennedys are known for a certain type of sound. There's a lot of slapback, a lot of tremolo. It's recorded in what sounds like somebody's barn, live. It's it's very iconic. It has a lot of surf tone to it. They're lyrically, it's, social commentary, a lot of satire, vulgar, to the point of slight obscenity, but not obscene to be vulgar. This album in particular takes on, the punk rock issues of conformity, the police state of California, agent provocateurs inside of riots. It's blunt, it's bleak, but they show that they're a little bit smarter than the average punk rock band of their time. A little more substance in what they're spitting out.
Mm-hmm. Drew, what would be the themes and elements that stood out for you?
This is a punk record through and through. This is Dead Kennedys are one of those bands where it's like, if you think of sort of pure forms of what the genre I think should be, and you think of punk rock, Dead Kennedys are one of the bands that come up for me. Yes, there's twinges of like old rock and roll and surf rock and what have you, but you're dealing with it in a very like fast thrash punk mentality. You get that anger, like you said, the social commentary, the political commentary. Jello Biafra and East Bay Ray, very smart guys in all the songs they write, both together and separate. It's just snarky, it's intelligent, it's the punk rock kid at the back of the class that knew more than the teacher did and would make sure they knew it. And it deals with the things that have become sort of the stereotype of punk rock. It's the conformity. It's the looking at the scene in different ways. It's looking at politics in different ways and looking at the world around you and being angry with it. And that to me is sort of what it was. The symbolism isn't the most hidden thing ever all the time. It's very blunt, but that's indicative of a punk rock record. It will bash you over the face with what it thinks of what you're hearing.
Baseball bat of truth.
Indeed.
Yes. Patrick, what would be the themes and elements that stood out for you? What stood out for you once listening to the record?
Probably, and correct me if I'm wrong, but these guys were probably one of the first punk bands who really built their career on the political social commentary thing. I mean, and that, for me, a lot of the punk bands I listened to came out of that mold, and other, genres, Bad Religion, even Rage Against the Machine to some extent kind of came from that same, that same attitude that whoever's running this show is running it wrong, and I disagree with them. And
I would say
that's
the Clash planted the seeds.
The Clash definitely had a thing with that too on occasion.
They were in the forefront.
I think when you, at least to me, when you think about politics and punk rock in like those early, like late 70s years, the Clash, they always called, the joke was always Clash was the CNN. They were a little more highbrow, whereas Dead Kennedy were the punks just like snubbing their nose at everything and being angry about it. Whereas like where they would make the crass joke, the Clash would be more highbrow with it, I guess you could say, to an extent.
They're what the Vice want to be about politics.
And you also got to remember that a lot of these bands in the time that these bands were doing what they were doing, you didn't hear every album that everybody came out with when it came out. I mean, getting something in San Francisco that was released in England was not as easy as it is today. So influences are kind of hard to come by, but it all happened in a certain period of time, and there was an overall reason for it.
Yeah, but yeah,
I'm just looking at the immense impact that made on what came after.
Yeah,
that's sort of my thing. Like a whole lot of punk music was in one way or another very politically conscious after this, and I think we owe a lot to them in that respect. And actually, just to sort of aside, way better musicians than I would have thought from the limited bits I've heard. Yeah. Before this, there's a lot of talent in a punk band, and sometimes punk bands, especially from this era, it's 50-50 whether or not they they can or can't play well. These guys could play really well. They just chose to play punk because it was what I think got their message across. And I like that. I thought it just
most bluntly, yeah. But Brett, what would be some of the key tracks for you that make up this record and define it?
Well, it's a punk rock album, so it's got like 40,000 songs on it that are about 20 seconds long. It's one of those kind of albums. No, I mean, the Trust Your Mechanic is a good song. It's got really, really, really good drums for punk rock drums. The snare work on that is definitely something that I will always remember. Forest Fire is a punk rock song from the early 80s, like you would want. But to make my list a little bit abbreviated, Riot, the song Riot, the first track on the second side of the album, was always crazy because it's about, rioting, which you think of, a punk rock, anarchy, rioting. Well, it's actually about, this, and they also go into it another song called, The Owl, where, people would start riots, people that wanted to, completely, take the public opinion away from a group by charging them up, getting them to riot, and then agent provocateurs come stir the thing up, people get arrested, and, they diminish the opinion of the people who are arguing it. It's a very, very bleak look at, we're crashing this town up, but, tomorrow, what's going to happen?
Yeah, exactly. Some fascinating tracks, some really cool commentary. Drew, what would be some of the key tracks for you?
To me, the ones that stood out a lot, two that sort of went hand in hand for me just because of the conformity sort of look at them was, Terminal Preppy, which is that the sort of frat boy college experience, as I like to call it. You're using college as an excuse to, this base level party and stuff like that. And the people that take that for colleges, I'm going to party, when it's like, well, what are you really doing? And Halloween. Halloween to me was a really cool way of looking at, which masks. The which mask do you really wear conundrum sort of thing. I like that one a lot. Nazi Punks, it to me is a classic. It's a punk rock classic. It will always be a punk rock classic. It's that you see those people, I think every, person who frequents punk rock clubs knows that guy that wants to be the edgy guy. It's that Nazi punk mentality, and it's that's not what it's about, and it's fighting for the scene, and a lot of bands do that. But can we talk about Rawhide?
Talk about Rawhide a little bit.
Can we talk about Rawhide?
This was my note about Rawhide. Why not? It sounds exactly like Dead Kennedys playing Rawhide. If you told me Dead Kennedys play Rawhide, this is exactly what it sounds like.
And I know Nazi Punks and Rawhide come off the, sort of demo at the end, but as he said, they're sort of bundled together now. They're sort of their own thing. And the Rawhide, to me, I've heard the Dead Kennedys cover before, and this and the Blues Brothers cover are the two best covers of this song ever, bar none, period. It's cool.
We play both kinds of music here. Country and Western.
And Western.
They're known for doing some really fun covers. They did one of Take
Viva
This
Las
Job
Vegas.
and Shove It and Viva Las Vegas. So, and
The Viva Las Vegas cover is so good.
And, the Take This Job and Shove It's pretty good too.
Yeah.
But, songs that you wouldn't expect them to be spitting out.
No. They have varied musical tastes as people, and that comes out in their covers, which is nice.
Mm-hmm. Patrick, what would be some of the key tracks for you?
Kind of the side B of Plastic Surgery Disasters, Riot, Bleed for me, I Am the Owl, and Dead End all kind of hit me really well, especially the first three there. I feel like if you want to write really, really good, politically, socially conscious music, you should be able to apply it at almost any time in history. And if you just take this album and put it 8 years ago and replace every instance of Reagan with Bush, you have every punk album from 8 or 9 years ago. and I think that's kind of a good thing in the sense that it's kind of timeless, because it is just, the system is broken and, we have a problem with it, and also sad because we really haven't moved on from the early 80s. So, I don't know. But that, and I really, really liked We've Got a Bigger Problem Now, just because it was kind of it had the whole Jello's obsession with the whole California Uber Alice thing, and he just doesn't like Ronald Reagan, and I mean, I can't blame him, but I mean, very few people hate Reagan like Jello hates Reagan.
Well, I mean, the original bad guy of California Uber Alice was Jerry Brown, who is also the current governor of California. So it's timeless in that manner too. But
There's the governor Jerry Brown. History repeats itself. It's kind of hilarious. Then we can go back around the horn. Kind of, Drew, what would be your thoughts on the album as a whole, conclusively?
This is, if I'm not mistaken, the second record. Correct me if I'm wrong, Brett.
Second full length. Yes.
Yes. Okay. So they're very much growing. This is, like Brett said, sounds like it was recorded in a shed or a barn or in a garage with no sort of care but to get it down and get it out there. And to me, that's sort of part of the fun of punk rock. If you find yourself a fan of punk rock and you haven't heard a record like that, you go from more of the polished side, maybe Dead Kennedy's later years, or like, say, your Pennywises, stuff like that. Do yourself a favor and pick up some of the albums that were recorded on 20 cents and a shoestring and maybe a taco, and give yourself a chance with those, because there's a lot of energy and a lot of fun and a lot of surprise to be had. Very, very smart, still speaks volumes, like Swagger said. I still call you Swagger on the show. It's old habits. It still speaks volumes about, like, sort of today and sort of people's qualms and unhappiness about the current governmental situations. Be it whoever is in power, there's always unhappiness to be had, and they always screw up somehow. So that sort of fighting music is sort of what I think is fun in punk rock. So.
Mm-hmm. And Patrick, what would be your thoughts on the album overall?
I enjoyed this more than I thought I would. Like, I didn't think I was going to hate it, but I'm hit or miss with early punk. Some of it really I love, and some of it I could live without, because it sounds like it was recorded on a toaster oven in a basement, and I got over the toaster oven in the basement sound because the lyrics are so strong, and like they're better than I ever would have given them credit for as musicians in terms of their songwriting, their, some of the just weird little surfy breaks. There's a couple of really killer bass lines in here. And the drums are way cleaner than early punk drums tend to be. Early punk drums tend to be some guy just wailing, two-step. And there's a lot of good stuff going on here, and it's especially the plastic surgery disasters part of it, I think, was really strong. There were a couple of parts of the In God We Trust that I didn't really care for because it just got a little buzzsaw for me. But plastic surgery disasters was kind of really good.
Yeah. I think I'm okay with the recorded on a toaster part, because I have no problems with sloppy music as long as you're being creative and you have something to say. I actually am a fan of sloppy music, because sometimes you can be a little too structured. But yeah, it's a fantastic record, and they really do some creative, fun, smart things. And Dead Kennedys rock. And Brett, last but not least, what were your thoughts overall on the record? What were your conclusion?
If you're into punk rock, this is a must-hear album. You got to listen to this. You can't just listen to the hits. There's stuff in here that's out of a certain time and place in San Francisco that you got to understand. This band just fueled a bunch of other Northern California punk rock bands, and it's of that really transition period of punk rock from the 70s stuff into the 80s, to where the old scene sort of started to die, which the Dead Kennedy sort of ended in 86 when the torch got passed to our the Bad Religions and the NoFXs. There's songs on here that speak to today more than just with the words. There's songs on this album that are about people spying on the public and manipulating the news, and it's a constant theme. It's punk rock to the core. You gotta but it's put together. It's smarter and more well played than you would ever think. Hell, there's some jazzy octave licks that for the beginning of We Got a Bigger Problem Now that are groovy as hell. Somebody knows what they're doing, or they would run out of guitar neck. It's hard to do octaves that long and that big of a string without running out of an octave. So go listen to it.
Yes, go listen to it. That's our catchphrase on the show. Just go listen to it. Don't bother listening to us. Just go listen to it. But that's our thoughts on the album. We're going to get to our main event of the evening. We get to our haiku reviews. And I'm going to go ahead and start with Patrick. Patrick, what is your haiku?
Hardcore fucking punk. Jello is a silly name. Reaganomics, man.
Drew, what is your haiku?
Not part of my haiku, but did you just go full hippie? Jesus. Alright. And you shake your head. Alright, good. Probably smarter than most of your school teachers. But also more crass.
Nice. My haiku, fun, ugly punk rock by guys with plenty of smarts and something to say. And of course, last but not least, Brett, what is your haiku?
Punk rock royalty. That line has been used before, but it is a fact.
Yes. And that is it for this week's review of Dead Kennedys. Go out and listen to that. It's not on the Spotify playlist. Sorry about that. But you can follow along on the Spotify playlist to most of our records. We try to curate that. I'm going to try to provide that link as often as I can. I know I don't do it. So I'll shoot at that link at some point. But you can follow along. Just subscribe to that playlist. If you want us to curate a playlist somewhere else, you can let us know. Let us know where you want one. On that playlist, hopefully, is going to be our next record, and that's going to be provided by Drew. Drew, what do you got for us next week?
Well, we're going to go with a little band from the UK via New York, and his line, not mine. We're going to go with the Toasters and Enemy of the System.
Speaking of Toasters, we're going to talk about the Toasters. But that is next week, and this is this week. And that's it for another fine episode of Record Breakers. You can find us all over the internet. Patrick is at The Swagger. Brett is at Hibbity Bibbard, HIBBITYBIBBARD. Drew is at X, Jucifer X. I'm at PD Rave. The show is at 4 Record Breakers, recordbreakerspodcast.com, rebelli.net for all of our shows. Subscribe, share, recordbreakerspodcast@gmail.com. You want to give us some feedback, like us, give us some, subscribe to our YouTube, give us some feedback, let us know how we're doing. But until next time, hasta los huevos.
Feed Doritos to the bears.
Annyeong.